Now, the voting age has been lowered, so 16 and 17-year-olds can vote in Welsh Assembly elections under a new law passed by AMs. It means 70,000 teenagers in Wales will be able to vote, as well as 33,000 foreign nationals. Becca Moore is from the British Youth Council, which has been calling for the voting age to be lowered through the UK. Good morning, Becca.
Morning.
Well, if I ask for your reaction, you must be delighted at this news.
Yeah, we see this as a real landmark victory in our campaign for votes for 16 and 17-year-olds. We were really happy a few years ago when Scottish young people were allowed to vote in the Scottish referendum, and it's fantastic news that this is going to be coming into Wales and for Welsh Assembly and local council elections.
So local council elections, you can't vote in the general election in 2 weeks' time, 2 weeks today. Is that the aim, though? Would you like to be able to do that as well in the long term?
Yeah, we want this rolled out across the UK for all elections. This upcoming election, 1.4 million 16 and 17-year-olds are being denied the vote. And we feel that these young people are able to have a say and are informed enough and able to do the research to be able to vote in elections which are really, really important. And we're really, really happy to see this coming into Scotland and now Wales, and we see this as a next step towards this being rolled out across the whole of the UK.
We were talking to first-time voters on the programme yesterday who are able to vote in the general election for the very first time, and they were very engaged, very informed, but not everybody is like that. In terms of 16 and 17-year-olds, what do you say to people that, 16 and 17-year-olds are not informed enough, or clearly not every one of them is informed enough, and they don't have enough life experience to be able to cast a vote of this significance?
I think people vote for what they see as a priority for them, and I think that 16 and 17-year-olds will be prioritising things like education or housing or jobs and that kind of thing. And I think they have the experience of seeing where their future's going and seeing their first-hand experience of the education system and all these different issues that other people with more life experience might not be as up to date with. So I think that these young people, yes, they might not have as much life experience, but they have a life experience which is perhaps more current and relevant to what's going on at the minute within issues that affect them and young people that are a bit younger than them as well.
Is the flip side to that, though? Do you think a lot of young people might just vote as their parents vote? They might be, influenced by how, their family has voted in the past.
I think everyone's naturally influenced by what's going on around them and who is around them. But I think what I see as a good thing that comes with votes for 16 and 17-year-olds is it puts pressures on schools to take their responsibility with citizenship education that was introduced in 2002. It makes them take that more seriously, and perhaps it'll introduce more of a holistic political education. I mean, that happened in Scotland during the referendum where young people were debating in schools, and it was young people who weren't necessarily as engaged being able to engage in those conversations. So I would say hopefully that this will encourage more of a holistic political education for all the young people.
Hi Becca, it's Tom here. We were talking about this on the programme yesterday, and we had lots of texts in from our listeners. I just wanted to get your view on some of the things that were sent in to us. There was someone who texted saying that having children voting, it was the way that they described it, makes a mockery of the adult vote. It devalues the opinions of older people. Do you think there's a risk of kind of having that divide between younger and older voters?
I think that was always that's a reaction that we've always anticipated. However, calling them children, I don't necessarily agree with, because young 16, 17-year-olds can pay national insurance contributions. They can the age of consent. They can get married. There's all these, and they can join the army. There's all these different things that 16 and 17-year-olds can do that make them more grown up than you would say like a 14-year-old. And we always get this slippery slope argument, but we don't necessarily agree with that either, because 16 and 17-year-olds, it can be full-time work, and it is a next step in life. So that's how we would disagree with that one.
And just lastly, Becca, in previous years, there has been a poor voting uptake among younger voters. What do you think will happen now?
I think that if you go by what's happened in Scotland, I mean, 75% of 16 and 17-year-olds voted in the Scottish referendum, which is a massive turnout. And I think that, like I said before about the pressure being put on schools to bring in this education, I think it'll have a ripple effect as people are getting older. They'll be more informed and they'll vote more in the future as well. And I also think that the political climate at the minute, where young people are so actively engaged in politics and issues that are important to them, I mean, you see that with the environment and like local issues as well. I think that'll only increase voter turnout.
Becca, good to talk to you. Good to get your view on that. Becca Moore there from the British Youth Council. It's almost 6:30.